Hello guys, welcome back to the studio. We're going to work on a little portrait of another most wanted. This time it's a German painter. He started his career with some figurative work. I remember seeing some beautiful candles. His name is Gerhard Richter, and he's one of the most expensive painter alive. So we're going to start with a little bit of the background, just to locate a little bit things, just to add some colors, just to make sure some things happening there. You know, the background to me is just not that important. I just want to make sure we have it, because it gives some beautiful rhythm to the painting. So I'm sure you've seen some of his work. He does some really large-scale abstract painting. I mean, after he's done the figurative work, he's been doing some giant abstract painting. He has a really strange way to work. He has those really big plastic plexiglass board. They're about 10 feet, 12 feet. He loads them with painting, and basically he starts from here and he rips the whole thing, and so that creates some sort of I don't know how to describe it, abstract landscapes or something. As I say, he's one of the most prominent artists right now, and he's the most wanted because, like a lot of the painters I've picked up for the most wanted, if you own a couple of his works, you can get retired. You just go on vacation all year long, which is pretty cool. Okay, let's draw his face a little bit, just like just like some landmark, So I'm just quickly drawing a couple of things. Where is the top of his ear? It's about half of the paper here, like this. Then color of his thing. His little smile, his glasses. We'll have to redefine all the position, but it's just for me to finish a little bit what's going on in the background. I want to make sure that the background is not going to be a problem. I want to saturate the paper with paint and liquid. And we're going to be able to start. If for you the background is more important, feel free to give more attention to it. For me, it just, it's not something I really think really matters. Mostly I don't want to attract attention on the background, so I'd rather have something pretty simple. I have another wet stripes here, and then here, and then here. Now that I have some liquid already on the, the canvas, on the paper, I don't really need so much, in the color, so I can just play like this. And okay, here we are, and some green, just to create something. I like it actually. I'm going to work on his sweater. Kind of a no color. It's kind of a almost like a green. Once again, that thing doesn't really matter. I think I made it a bit too much green. We'll have time later to tone it down with a little bit of orange. His hair, which kind of disappear with the background, which is so cool. It's almost like he's part of it, even if it's a bit darker here. Okay. Actually, I want to work with a little bit of a larger brush. I hope I have something in between. Yes, this one should do it. Okay, so now let's build really quickly the big architecture of the face. And you see, I'm not trying at all to get into any kind of detail yet. It's way too early to. What I'm trying to do right now is just to get the big architecture, as I said. Now we have some white here. That's actually one of my favorite moments in a painting. It's just this one, because it's where the freedom is at its peak. And actually, some of my early works were not much more than that. So, you can say to me, oh, I like that, you should have stayed in that. Let me make sure that, yes. Yeah? Yes, I'm recording. I'm just so careful now because I lost so many videos and so it's so frustrating. Okay, where is he? He's here. Is he here somewhere here? It's almost like a Van Gogh something. So you see, when I say no detail, I'm not kidding. But as I say, it's one of my favorite moment, because it's really where we give the intonation for the color palette, for everything. This moment is actually a key moment. It's what's going to define the whole painting. That's the moment where you can be generous, you can be crazy, you can just unleash your creativity. And as I said, some paintings could even stop here. Like, I'm done. Put it in a museum and sell it for a couple of $1,000,000. Hello. Yeah. So here we have a little bit of a stop into the. Oh, geez, what did I do? It's okay. We had a little bit of a stop in the recording, so I had to reset the thing. Little by little, I think I'm starting understanding what's going on with my recording. Some blue for the shirt. So there's something, when you go to art school, there's what we call the quick sketches. So basically, you have a limited time to do a painting. The model is there, and you have barely 5 minutes to do a painting. For many years, I was just like, what's the point? When I was a young student and so on, you just want to say to the teacher, I didn't have time to finish. But that's the point. That's why it's really interesting to do it. It's because we don't have time to finish it. So therefore, we need to question something really interesting, which is what it means to finish a painting. Even sometimes what it means to start a painting. And it's exactly what I'm doing right now. Somehow that painting could be enough if it was my style. It's not, for many reasons. But it's not my style, it's not what I do. I used to do things like this a little bit. I remember going to a school and doing a full classroom painting of kids. And I had barely an hour each time. And my painting were a little bit chaotic like this. So the idea of finishing a painting is really something special. When you work on portraiture, finishing a painting is more obvious because it's when you get the likeness. I mean, you can do a painting that doesn't look like the person that's painted, but usually we don't do it on purpose. We do it because we cannot do better. Most of the people who do portraits would like to have the likeness. So you see, right now what I'm doing is just trying to have the big harmony, the big architecture, the big vision of the whole thing. Oh my gosh, I must say something. Here's some pretty brushy eyebrow. I don't know why people do that. So you see, it's why the background is so important on that, because the beard, the only way to see the beard is because it's on contrast with the background on the color. You see, like for example, here I have a color, might be even too dark, but whatever. Here, here, and so on. So it's going to help me to create the volume with the background. Actually, I don't even have any painting on that, so let's add some painting and some stripes, and just to create that illusion of something happening in the background. And you know, I don't necessarily want something really accurate about the background. For me, it's more using the background to create a way to have those, like for example, you see those hair, they're darker. I think I made them a bit too gray. I think they're more kind of green, orange. There's his hair going into his head like this. There's more of a darker color here. Here. I might go to a softer brush. So usually the first session like this, I'm going to work for like, I would say about 20-30 minutes. The point for me now is mostly to get the vibe of the painting, of the portrait, of the image. It's not necessarily to, I'm not going to make a portrait in 30 minutes. I could make a caricature in 40 minutes, but the portrait, it's a bit different. And, you know, I just want to get this smile that is kind of, you know, I won't say awkward, but you know, a little bit on the side. But you see, even doing just little things like this, we can start getting the idea of the face of the model. It doesn't take, you know, a lot to get the. It's why you know, we're working on paper, and I want you to feel, you know, absolutely okay. If you feel like you're not doing well, just take another piece of paper and start from scratch and do it again. That's a great thing about working on paper, is that we don't have to really worry about the expense or the price of just a piece of paper, and we can just do it again. And you know, that's a great way. If you work on canvas, if you start on canvas and you just don't do well, you know, the canvas is costly, not the paper. The paper, I mean, it has a little price, but you know, it's definitely not as much as a canvas. But you see, it's already looking like him. I mean, it's not like a photo ID, but almost. No, I'm kidding. And just correct yourself. Like the nose is too low. I mean, the bottom of my nose is too low. I need to put it a bit higher, so I need to elevate that thing a bit here. So by just, you know, self-correcting myself again and again and again, at some point I'm starting to get closer and closer from the image I'm trying to make of this gentleman.
And actually, the funny thing is that, as I said, in some ways, I could stop painting now. I could just say, it looks like him a little bit. Kind of minimalistic, brutal, primitive version of himself. But that's really what I like about the whole thing. Anyway, okay, let's just focus a little bit. Okay, we have the eye like this, who's going all the way here. And then we have it here. Okay, let me do something. Okay. Yeah, so as I was saying, there's something pretty cool about the fact that it's almost like a caricature. And actually, caricature might be aborted portraits, like portrait that been left halfway. And I know caricaturists are not going to be happy with what I'm saying, but it's kind of the way we paint. We just try to find out the right colors and so on, and it takes some time. And quite often, like one of my favorite painters, Daumier, Jean Honoré. Was it Honoré? It's Honoré. Was it Jean? I'm not sure. Whatever. There was two. There was him and there was another guy. What's his name? Geez, the name is getting away from my mind. Anyway, so they were doing those paintings of people in France. Daumier has done an amazing series of high-rank people in the like judges, lawyers, all those really big people in Paris in the 1860, 70. Jean-Louis Forain, I was looking for them. Jean-Louis Forain. So they were doing that, and there was a lot of caricature going on, and it was the invention actually of comic book. The way they were painting was really close to what we would consider today as comic book, but it was pretty much the beginning. I mean, I'm sure there was other painters before them who were doing that kind of thing, but they were really the one. And Daumier was extremely talented. So he did a lot of little sculpture, and if you have the chance to see them, they are so cool. Anyway, so my little painting of so this one, the approach on this one, it's why it's pretty difficult for me to have one technique, because depending on the painting, depending on the subject, depending on a lot of things, I have different way of approaching a painting. This one is definitely more on the caricature side for now. I'm not saying it's going to stay the same for all the time, but for now I'm trying to catch, because he has something in his eyes, he has something in the way he looks, in the way that is really interesting. And so you see my way of doing it, and right now it looks like crap. But that's the thing. I'm going to feed the beast. I'm going to feed the painting to a point where, you know, that caricature effect is going to disappear. But I still want to get that look he has on his face. So, you know, instead of the model adapting to you, sometimes you have to adapt to the model. Sometimes you have to adapt to the painting. There's a painting by Delacroix in the French Congress. He did the ceiling of the library of the French Congress. And the crazy thing is that at the time, he was already Mr. Delacroix. He was not like a young painter and so on. And still, he bent over the building, the location, the demand of this place, which is so specific and so loaded with history and so on. And the thing, he didn't do a Delacroix painting on the ceiling. He did a painting done by Delacroix, and not the way around. And I think it's really important to be capable of, you know, looking at something and just not making everything about ourselves.
Hello guys, welcome back to the studio. So we're still working on the portrait of Mr. Gerhard Richter. I'm going to turn the camera to a close-up for his face. We have everything ready, colors and so on, so let's go. So I started the painting yesterday. Everything went pretty well. So when I start a painting like this, you know, the first session, the first you know, the first hour or whatever, I'm just trying to cover entirely the surface, and I'm not necessarily really trying to do any kind of too detailed, you know, because I know I'm going to come back and that's when now where I'm going to look at what I've done yesterday and change the things I'm not happy with. So usually on this kind of painting, so for that series particularly, because it's a series that is on the web, you know, I'm putting those videos on YouTube or whatever. I don't work too much on those videos. I want to limit myself to about, I'm trying to stay to about 2 hours maximum. Sometimes more, of course. You know, if I did one of Picasso the other day, and as a, you know, to try a little bit how is it gonna be, and it took me 3 hours something. But Picasso has this, you know, in his eyes he has this tension in his eyes that, you know, it took me some time to catch. So I'm not only working on top of what I've done yesterday, I'm also rethinking completely the painting. So I'm willing to change anything that I haven't done properly. Either it's the position of the eyes, the position of the nose, and so on. So it's not like a, you know, it's not like a coloring book or something where you just add, you know, you just add the color to the drawing. For me, the drawing is still not, you know, I still don't have the solution on some of the elements of this face. So once again, I'm not just reworking on it. I'm just rethinking the whole thing. As I already mentioned earlier, starting in the studio, starting a new day in the studio is always something challenging. It's like working out, when you arrive and you go to the gym. I don't know if you go to the gym, but if you do, you know what I mean. It's taking some time for your brain, for your body, for everything to start painting again. And I figure out that as I'm getting older, that time of warm-up is increasing. When I was a younger painter, I could just walk in the studio and start painting right away. I could paint anywhere, in the street, blah, 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 and I was comfortable pretty much anywhere. Now that I'm getting older or more experienced or both, it's becoming more difficult to start a painting, to come in the studio and just to start working and so on. So I really want you to understand if it's something that happens to you, if you come to the studio and you're kind of procrastinating and you're kind of, looking around and, sometimes it's just difficult to just, jump back on the work. And I always try to work pretty much every day for the same reason. So I like that background because it's not a typical painting. I'm not even sure it's his painting. Maybe it is. I don't know. I'm not familiar with that work, so I would be surprised if it's his work. But I don't know all the works of Gerhard Richter. But I like that ambience in the background. I think it's a good fit for the painting. Okay, so now that I warm up a little bit and I feel a bit more comfortable, sometimes it's just about putting colors on the palette. When the palette is in the morning, when there's no color, nothing, it takes some time to just create some colors and to be able to use them. So one of the things that is really important to me is what I call the passage. So basically it's transition. Each time you have a harsh brushwork, you create a boundary, a borderline. You create something where your eyes are going to get stuck into, where your eyes is going to stop and say, what's going on there? You need to use those things to your benefit. You need to use those things to what do you want, and once you start understanding the whole thing, it's going to help you really to create a flawless painting, or not flawless, because the goal is not to make it flawless. The goal is to make it to make the accent of what is important to us in front. So for me, right now, you see I'm working on the forehead and I want the forehead to be flawless, but I might want something else for other details. So it's a game of comparison. It's a game of, okay, what is more red, what is more blue, what is lighter, what is darker, and I'm just orchestrating. I'm trying to organize my my painting this way. It's almost like cleaning a room, it's when you clean a space, there's things that are more important than others, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do. And always be aware that if something's not working, it's better to change it than to stick with something. So if you notice something and you say,
that's not the way it should be. And even if you spend some time working on it, just redo it. Just don't let something, because you spend a couple of hours on it or quite time and so on, and you just don't have the energy, or you just don't feel like you're thinking that's enough. Most of the time when we think it's enough, it's because it's not. So we try to find sometimes some excuses not to do more things than we have to do. Painting is also about being, how do you say that in English? Proactive. So if you see something that doesn't work, just go for it and change it. You see, for example, in this painting, to me, I feel my eyes are not at the right position. So I'm gonna just recalculate the position of the eyes. So in order to do that, I'm just going to judge with, for example, the ear. So like that light on the nose here is pretty much at the height of that. Okay? Then I have that space. I'm pretty okay with that. That space needs to be, it seems that there's something strange with the beard. And sometimes I can lose, I won't say hopes, but kind of, sometimes I look at what I'm doing and I'm just saying, I will never make it. It's pretty much like, facing a giant mountain that you need to climb, and you're at the foot of the mountain, and you look at it and you're just like, oh my gosh, that's really a lot. I might never be able to climb that mountain. First of all, that might be true, but I mean, the difference between a painting and climbing a mountain, first of all, climbing a mountain can be dangerous, not painting. There's a lot of chance that, nothing bad's going to happen, you're not going to fall or whatever. And most of the time, it's more a matter of time, actually. It's more a matter of just saying, it might take me 10 hours, whatever. I mean, whatever it takes. So as I say, for those one, I wanted to limit myself to about 2 hours per painting maximum. But to be honest with you, I don't have a watch. I have a watch, but I'm not really. I'm just making sure that everything's working fine. I'm not really measuring the time or whatsoever. I'm just painting. But on the other hand, I really want you to understand, the level of focusing and dedication and just, and trust, trusting in yourself, trusting in your, in the time you're going to spend on something. It's pretty much like, as I say, climbing a mountain or even building a house. When you start a house, when you look at a builder, they start with the foundation and so on, and there's nothing. It's just it's a field, it's a land, and then they put the foundation, then they bring one thing after the other, and at some point you can see the house being, coming out of the ground. It's pretty much the same thing for a painting. If you feel frustrated, if you feel like you're not going to make it, there's a lot of chance you're not going to make it. You need to just relax. Nothing bad's going to happen. Worst case scenario, your painting won't be what you expect it to be. That doesn't mean it's bad. That means it's not what you expect to be. Someone might think it's a beautiful piece while you think it's not. But for sure, there's a matter of not giving up. There's a matter of, just sticking with what we're doing and not losing hopes. When I was a younger painter, when I started doing commission portraits,
There was times where I was really upset with my work. You know, I was thinking I'm never going to make it. That painting is not good. It's never going to be good, and so on. And when you work on a commission portrait, it can be really overwhelming because you have to deliver. And it has happened to me several times to get really upset and just to cover completely the painting with white. You know, I was working for like 10, 15 hours, and I look at the painting and say, you know, I lost it, I lost the likeness. Mostly, it happens mostly when you overworked and when you get into a panic moment where you feel you're not going to make it, and then you start making bad decision, wrong decision about, you know, that line or that shade, or, you know, and everything gets out of control. You need to really, it's you know, there's a lot of common approach with meditation. You just need to let the painting flow through you a little bit. You know, you cannot just freak out. If you start freaking out, yes, there's a lot of chance that you're not going to make it to the end. If you don't freak out, if you just keep calm, if you just look at what you're doing, and mostly accepting one thing, it's just it requires a lot of practice. You know, it's like playing an instrument. You know, if you start the guitar and you think you're going to play like Eric Clapton right away, no, it's not going to happen this way. There's a lot of practice, and so just keep on doing. Just you know, like for example, what I'm doing right now is part of that meditation process I'm talking about. So I'm painting those lines because it tells my brain to just reset. I'm not thinking about that. I'm just thinking about something more simple. And I think that's really important, that you are able to just do, you know, you're working on a painting and then there's something that you know is no big deal, it's easy, blah, blah. Just spend some time on it. As soon as you start feeling like you get overwhelmed and so on, and then you come back to the painting and you will see, strangely, but I mean, it's pretty, I mean, the reasons are pretty obvious, but you're going to see things differently. You're going to see things, you're going to start seeing things again that you were not seeing anymore. And so it really helps to reset your brain. So, you know, don't think things comes so easily, but on the other hand, don't think things never come either. There's something about the relaxation, it's really important. And always remember, it's only a painting. So, you know, the other thing that is really interesting to understand is, who do we work for? Are you working for yourself, and therefore you're the only person that matters, that opinion matter on your work? Or do you work and then you're going to show the painting to some friends or whatever, and what they're going to say is important or not? Or if you work for, like, you know, I was talking about commission portraits, if you work for a client, then of course you need to listen to your client. If the client loves the painting and you don't, you know, it might be more important, it might be better than if you, the way around, like if you love the painting and the client think it's a really bad painting. So always keep in mind that there's no truth. There will always be someone who likes your painting, and there will always be someone who hates your painting. It's just what it is. And even the greatest masters in the world, even, you know, painters in museums and so on, you still can see people, you know, either they neophyte, they don't know, or you know, and they won't like it, and it's okay, it's fine. You know, we don't have to Yeah, it's like our physics, it's like you're always the most beautiful person for someone, and you're always the most ugly for another one. Maybe not the most ugly, but we don't have to fill up all the needs and so on. So once you're painting, once you understand that, it might help you to just relax a little bit, and just to understand that, you're just a painting. And it leads us to thinking as well about, like, the social media thing, for example. Okay, so I've just done a portrait of Frida Kahlo. Okay, with my wife, we're both artists. We've both studied art for years and years. I mean, I studied art for roughly 10 years in school. And then after, I studied art at home, buying books, going to museums and so on. So for me, Frida Kahlo is super famous. I mean, in my world, everybody knows Frida Kahlo. And the other day, so I was working on that portrait, and I posted a little video on, my daughter did. She posted a video, I think, on YouTube. And someone said, "Who is that Frida Kahlo? I've never heard about her. Who is that nobody?" And the question is, that doesn't mean that person didn't like my painting, first of all. And yes, I can understand that some people don't know who is Frida Kahlo. But once again, that doesn't mean that person didn't like my painting. So when you paint, when you do your whatever you do, your art, or always try to remember that. Always try to remember that you're not going to be pleasing everybody. You need to define who you need to please. Like some of my family, I have some family that are not art connoisseur at all. Zero. They don't go to museum, they don't go to gallery. And I love them, and they love me. And when I used to paint, when I was in France, I used to do landscapes and so on in the area of Normandy, close to Claude Monet's house. Claude Monet and Bonnard, actually, they were both living pretty close to each other, and at different time, of course. And so, some of the painting I was doing, they loved it. And for me, they were not great painting because I thought they were a bit cheesy, or, sometimes they were not really. But they loved it. And, what do we paint? Do we paint because we want to impress someone? Do we paint because we're looking for love? Do we paint because we just love to paint? So once you kind of understand who you are, it might help you to, first of all, improve your work, because, it's a mental thing. Painting is a mental thing. So we need to understand all those things in order for us to be able to paint, and to understand why we're doing things. So I'm still working on the, trying to put things together, as I say, the passage for the air and so on. I'm staying a little bit away from the eyes and so on. There's something pretty complex about the transparency of the beard and the skin behind it. There would be a way to do it, which is to take a really tiny brush and to paint hair by hair. I see a lot of people on social media doing that. They show they work with a really tiny brush, and they do all the little hair and so on, one by one.
I think that's okay if it's something you want to do like this. I don't work like this, but some people do, and it's okay. As I say, you have to understand who you work for. And we all work for a reason. We all paint for a reason, Nobody is just completely free and don't care about the rest of the world and so on. We're always looking for approval. Either it's from us, from our friends, from the art market, from the collectors, from whatever, It's always about... it's almost like an act of seduction. We just need to figure out who we want to seduce. So I'm working a little bit on the clothes. Not that I think they're really important, but I want to work a little bit more on it. And as I say, you can take that moment where you work on the clothes to just, relax and reset your brain and get ready for the next tension. Actually, what I figure out, after working for so many years, is that I cannot keep my focus for so long. There's a time where my brain starts frying, and I just cannot keep focusing for like 30-40 minutes without getting a little bit tired, and so those moments where I work on the clothes are also made of those moments where I'm just like allowing my brain to step back a little bit and just get a little break from all the tension and the pressure of focusing. So, because I know it's exhausting, working for a very long time on a painting can be really exhausting. So I think I'm starting having a little bit of a, starting seeing better. I think that distance here is too big, obviously. So that means two things. Either my eyebrow is too high or my eye is too low. Okay, let's try to see where's the eye. The eye, the center of the eye is about here when it comes to... So yeah, actually my eye might be a bit higher. So as I said earlier, I need to be able to change. For some reason, I think this one is better. It's why it's important to make sure that we can always move stuff, like, changing the position of a detail and so on. Because if I stick to something, if I paint something somewhere and I just say, you know what, it's there and I'm not going to move it, then if I realize that I have a problem with the proportion and so on, I can't move it. I'm not gonna do it. Then the result is simple, no likeness, and it's okay. It's okay. You can do portraits that don't look like the people, as long as you don't work on commission, and as long as the collector doesn't see the model, he might think whatever, it looks like whatever it is. Now, if you want to do the portrait of your grandson or the portrait of your husband or wife or whatever, and it doesn't look like them, that's a little bit more challenging. Once again, we have to define for who we work for and what's the goal. For me, it's pretty simple. I work with galleries, but I also work with private collector, with commissioner who wants a portrait of their loved ones. And if I don't get the likeness, I cannot ask people to buy the painting. I just can't. It has happened to me a couple of times. Doesn't happen often, which is great. It's pretty good actually. But it's something we have to accept. Same thing. The tricky part about being in art school is exactly that. You work for yourself, of course, because you want to become an artist. But somehow you work also for the teacher, because you're going to get a grade. Once you get out of school, or art school, you don't work for the teacher anymore, you work for yourself. And sometimes it's more difficult. Because when we work for the teacher, we have an idea of what he wants. When the teacher is gone, sometimes we lose the idea, the whole purpose of why do we paint. And if so, there's something, a lot of people, I mean not a lot of people, but some people say, oh, you paint to be free. It's kind of, it means everything and it means nothing. Because most of the time, in order to be free, you need to get rid of your chains. So the transparency of the glasses is, sometimes people ask me when I paint flowers or glass or glasses on the face, they say, how do you get the transparency of the lens and so on? I don't think this way. I just paint the glasses exactly the way I'm going to paint the nose. For me, there's no difference. So you see, for example, I think the nostril is a bit higher. There's no difference. So try not to paint what you know, but what you see, which is, of course, much more difficult. But if you can paint what you see and what you know, instead of what you know, you're going to be able to paint anything in a much better way than if you paint what you know. Because painting what we know kind of limits us to what we know. So I'm not going to try to think in terms of lens and transparency and so on. I'm just going to paint exactly what I see. Not exactly, I wish I could paint exactly what I see. It's why I train every day. And maybe in 200 years, I would get close. And that's the magic of the great masters, is that quite often they have an objectivity of the eyes that's pretty fascinating. They really can analyze what they see. I don't know if it's linked because the time was more slow. They had more time to think or whatsoever. For sure, one of my favorite painter ever is Velázquez. And I mean, Titian, Velázquez, and Van Dyck. For me, it's the three big names. I don't know any painter today capable of that. None. Painting like those guys with the same. And I mean, they were not different than we are today. They were the same. So there's something in the way that's been lost. And I really don't care about the concept of modernity, saying concept of modernity, like saying, why should we paint like those guys? I mean, it was several centuries ago. Who cares now, and so on. You bring back Velázquez today, he's gonna make some magnificent paintings, the same. So, maybe there's something about, and that's why I was talking about it earlier, for who do you paint? I think that if you paint for God or something that you believe is much higher than you, it might actually challenge you so much that you're going to be much more demanding and anyway, little by little, I'm building my painting. You see, I'm not. I'm just adding little things. I'm just seeing something, correcting it. Seeing something, correcting it, and I work pretty much everywhere at the same time. So I'm not like saying, okay, now I'm going to work on this eye, or the nose, or the mouth. I mean, I can say it, but the truth is that once I start working on something, if I see something else that's not okay, I'm just going to switch to what I see and changing what I just noticed. And by going back and forth to different elements, and that helps me actually to reset my vision, because I mean, you can try it, you know, someday if you want to do something. It's a pretty interesting experience. You go in your restroom and you look at yourself in the mirror, and you look at yourself for like 10 minutes, but you don't look at yourself like just looking at yourself. You just look at your eyes, at your, almost like a painter. You try to understand the shapes and so on, blah, blah. And the strange thing is that after a certain period of time, we realize we don't recognize ourselves at all, that we never really spend the time to look at all that complexity. It's almost like, I use that image quite often, but it's almost like that beautiful hotel in Italy where you open the bedroom in the morning, I mean the window of the bedroom in the morning, and you see that beautiful landscape and you think, oh my gosh, that's beautiful, I want to live here and so on. I don't want to go back to the United States or wherever it is, because it's so pretty and so on. And then you're going to start looking around, and then you're going to notice the trashes, and you're going to notice the broken car, and you're going to notice the things that you didn't see at the beginning. And then you understand why the local, they don't see the things the way we do, because they're used to it. So try to do the same thing with yourself, with your face, and you'll see it's a pretty fascinating experience. So for the glasses, the arm of the glasses, the in French we call it branche. I don't know, I'm not sure the name in English, but anyway. So I define where I'm coming from to where I'm going, and then I can draw that line. And that line is going to help me to also make sure that my proportions are pretty okay. I'm not completely off. I might have to switch to a smaller brush pretty soon. So you see, for example, I have that color, and I didn't like it because it was too saturated. It was too orange red. So instead of putting some black and white to desaturate it, I used some green, light green, and I put in it. So right away I got the effect of desaturation. That means that the color now is less orange, less red. It's a bit darker, which is but it's not too dark, because if I was using black, I would have to use some white in order to lighten the color. So using the complementary color to alterate the color you're working on is really something important that you need to understand and then practice until you really see it. And so, you know, it's really helping to. You can hear my doggy. Ella. So yeah, as I say, you know, I'm just you know, learning how to use the colors is really something important. Like I remember years ago, I went. My father challenged himself. He said, you know, oh, I would like to come with you when you go. At the time, I was doing a lot of landscape painting and so on, so I was working plein air a lot. And so he decided to come with me, you know. And you remember as a kid, he was pretty good at drafting and so on. So he said, you know, I should be okay painting. And I said, okay, come with me, you'll see. And actually, his biggest challenge was not to draw a landscape, because he understands architecture and perspective and all those things. His biggest challenge was to create the color he was seeing in his palette. He was really struggling to create that color. So, you know, like for example, it was a snow landscapes. We are painting outside. It was snowing that day. And so snow means a lot of blue, a lot of, you know, all the shadows are blue and so on. And he could not create the colors. And he was really frustrated because he didn't know how to mix them on the palette. So you can do like a little exercise as well, which is, you know, you pick up any color on your painting, you know, like something like this. And then you challenge yourself to create that color with, you know, from scratch. And you train yourself. And you train. You know, you can do it several times and so on. It's going to really teach you how to control the colors. You know, how to make it a bit more yellow, a bit more blue, a bit more, you know, and then you will be able to really go from one color to the other really quickly. And it's something we need to train. The color sensation is something, you know, it's pretty much something we have or we don't. But the mechanic of making a color is something that can be learned. Okay, now the mouse. Okay, let's work a little bit on the mouse. I say let's work on the mouse, and I work all over the place, but not on the mouse. But you know, what I'm doing right now is actually preparing the position of the mouse and so on. Okay, I have my nostril here. I'm gonna have to move those to redefine those nostrils. I think they were not great, but that's okay. And then I have some stuff here and that here. You see, for example, that line is really harsh, so I'm just, with a really dry brush, I'm just softening. And it might be too long as well. Anyway, okay, so now the corner of the mouse is about here. And when it comes to elevation, it's about here. Okay, so I'm pretty good here. So that's one of the corner of the smile. Where is going the other one? So the other one is roughly here as well. So here. And now when it comes to elevation, it's about halfway from here to here, but mostly it has an angle, and so that's something you can use your brush. You know, you can use your brush like this, and you take the angle of the mouse and you translate it. Okay, I don't do that anymore because I don't use my brush anymore to do that, because you know, I've been doing that for so many years that I kind of naturally feel it.
And that's the thing, when I was talking about training, that's exactly the point. You just, like you train for creating, mixing colors, and you get better and better at creating colors. You also train with the drawing. So at the beginning, it's a lot of focusing. It's a lot of you have to really pay attention. You still have to make sure that you have the right dimension, proportion, whatever. And so the drawing at the beginning, you're gonna, if you're a beginner, you're gonna really stress about it because it's difficult. Now, when you become more experienced, you start not thinking about it. It's become more natural and so on. So it's exactly what I was saying about the time that it takes. Okay, so now that line here, I've just noticed something, and that's why it's so. I also something. It starts here, actually here. So that thing here is like this. I will have to, redefine the colors, but it's actually a bit lower on this side. And now that I'm looking at that, I think the nostril is actually a bit higher, like this. Here it's more like this, so we have a better vision of the nose. He has a little bit of a smile, so that thing might open a bit more, actually. It's strange because he's looking at us, and still it feels almost like he's not looking at us. He has a little twist in his eyes that we're going to try to catch. We have more of an orange surface here. And sometimes you see the likeness sometimes doesn't come from the eyes or from, sometimes it's coming from just what I've done, which is making sure that we have the right proportion in his face. Actually, it's one of the most important. When I lose a portrait, when I'm working on a portrait and I lose it, what I mean by losing is that, I kind of don't get the likeness. I always come back to really simple things, like the shape of the forehead, the light on the cheek and so on. I'm not focusing on the eyes because sometimes I feel the problem is in the eyes, and actually it's not. It's more the big picture, the big proportion of the face and so on. So by just making sure we have the right proportion, sometimes we can get back to the likeness. A lot of people focus on the eyes and mostly the eyes, and so they work with really closely, and they make a lot of details in the eyes and so on. If you don't have the big picture, forget about it. It's not going to work anyway. I'm always making sure that it's still recording. Okay, I'm going to switch to a smaller brush now. Basically the small one. Yes, because there are a couple of things I need to... Now I'm getting into teeny details, so you know, for me the painting is almost completed. Now this line is pretty strong, so I'm just going to reinforce it. So I use the small brush, you know, really at the end of the work, when it's almost like putting some small accent, but I'm even going to let the painting sink in for a little bit, going back to the larger one to just, you know, make sure that those lines are not too harsh. I actually have a little bit of the moustache. I kind of forget. Sometimes I forget details. Sometimes I'm just like so much into the whole thing that, you know, there's some teeny things I don't even really pay attention to. So you see, for example, on this moustache, you know, I used some green just to enhance the contrast. So by using green, I don't necessarily have to use something so light. If I was using white only or gray, I might have to increase the clarity to get the same reaction that I have with the green, because the green creates a contrast as much as the white would do. So that helps me to keep a little bit of how you call that? You know, I don't have to go so wide, so it gives me some room in order not to go all the way to the clarity, but stay more in the colors. So it's what I was saying earlier, you know, the colors are really your best friend. It's actually a great training. I've done it, I don't know, I think I have a couple of videos, at least of the Beatles and so on, where I did the portrait of the Beatles in black and white. And when you do a black and white portrait, of course, you cannot use the colors. So it's really interesting, you know, it's a great practice to sometimes use black and white just to understand colors better and what are the possibilities of the color. Too much. I think I'm going to have to work mostly on the eyes now. I want to smoothen a little bit that line here, the line of the mouth that I think is a bit too harsh, so I'm just going to go over it with some pink. Okay. The nose needs a little bit of work here. You know, we could spend, you know, so much time on those paintings. It's really where you want to put the bar, you know, like where do you want to go with something like this. For me, as I said, you know, those videos are also for tutorial, and so I don't want to spend too much time, so I've limited myself to a little bit. But of course, if I was spending you know, much more time, I could really do his portrait. Right now it's more like a
something inspired by
his face. I'm not saying that the likeness is, the best I can do. Okay, we're going to play a little bit with some yellow and white for the glasses. For the rim, I mean, it's not rim, it's just frameless glasses. So I have some white here, some yellow. Once again, it's exactly when I play with the green on the mustache. I could use only white, but because I put some yellow, then it gives another information. Actually, I feel the top is more like blue. So you see the transparency of the glasses is pretty simple. And I'm going to use some green for the upper rim. I must say, these glasses are a bit boring. Sorry. You're a famous artist and so on, and maybe you want something more, a little bit more edgy. A little bit more contrast in the eyes. I also feel like I need to darken the eyes a little tiny bit, and we should be done. So if you don't know his work, you can look online. Gerhard Richter. I mean, he has the title of the most expensive painter alive, I think. I think that's him right now, who is the winner. He looks a little bit like a Russell Crowe. I think there's something in common. I'm going to add a little bit of shadow here. I made it too gray, not saturated enough, so I need to go back with some red in it or orange, just to make a little bit more of it. I'm going to work a little bit on the wrinkles that are just giving more wisdom or something. Here I feel like that's a bit darker. And just, as I say, it's never ending.
Okay, let's take the mirror and look at it, see if we are kind of okay with pretty much everything, or at least anything major or minor. Yeah. No sparkle in the eye, so we won't make one. You know, I don't like to do something that is just a little trick. And to me, the little white spot in the eye is tricky. I mean, if there is, I bet one, but if there's not, I just don't like to add it just because it makes the eyes a little bit more whatever. Here we are. So, make sure, yes. So now you know my favorite thing, which is to take off the tape. Okay, this one is a little bit funky. Okay. Something here, it's weird, I don't know what it is. Anyway, so this is the portrait of Gerhard. Thank you guys, talk to you soon.